rubber's about to meet the road. And there's been a few times in my life I'd love to say that I've had a hole in my rubber, but ladies and gentlemen, I don't wear condoms. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. My voice, it is I, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack, Primetime Reeb. I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And today, we are also joined alongside the greatest professional wrestling referee of all time, the G-O-A-T, the motherfucking GOAT, Sparkey Ballard. What up, Spark?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be back on. I've been listening to you guys every twice a week, and it's just great to be back into the conversation. I really enjoy what you guys are doing, and I'm glad to be back to talk about some pro wrestling topics.
That's it, man. It sounds like you give Zack a call after every episode and hash out some topics on your own. So I know I know what Zack wants to get to, but I'm kind of rounding out the NorCal United seminar. You know, I heard kind of through the grapevine conversations that you had with Zack. We talked to Big Ugly, but after it's kind of like settled in and you get to kind of reflect on that experience, do you have anything different that you focus on or you think about, like, besides, I know we heard about, like, everyone kind of gravitated to the Oliver John ring and things that you thought like you would takeaways from that seminar, and you know, it made it sound like that this is going to be much bigger next year, maybe adding additional rings, more trainers, things like that, things that you thought like, hey, this went really well, things that you would suggest that are added in the future. What about that stuff, Sparky?
Well, first off, yeah, I had a really good time. Big Ugly invited me down. I went with one of my referee students. With Ryan Tran being down there, I figured, hey, here's my chance to learn from a guy who's been doing it on TV for the last 15 years. Big Ugly had 3 wrestling rings there, so it was like almost overwhelming when you walked in because you're like, oh, where do I even start? You know, and I said, just gravitate towards a ring. So, I said, I went to the Oliver John because I always love sitting under his learning tree, obviously, and he was just going over some of the believabilities of the start of a match, which is like super important. You got to get him to believe right from the start. He did a good job. I think Zack touched on him having the heat stroke, passing out, and everyone kind of had that moment of concern, and he snapped out of it and was like, "Did you guys believe?" And we were like, "Well, yeah. I mean, shoot, I almost thought we were about to have to call 911 here for a second, But just evoking that emotion and really just making people believe. After that, I went to. After about an hour, they switched things around. And so I gravitated over to the tag team seminar that Samurai and Scoot were putting on, because I do feel like one of the harder aspects of keeping control in the ring is definitely during multi-man tag matches. So I wanted to kind of see what they had going on. And they were running some spots. So, I suggested to Samurai, like, hey, you got me and Bill, who's a referee at Oasis. I said, maybe we could switch off for some of these spots that you're teaching the guys. So maybe we can kind of get involved in it and get some of that experience too. So we helped out with that. Then the whistle blew again. And it was like, man, right as soon as we were starting to get into it, it was like, all right, it's on to the next thing, So the third ring had like Vinny Massaro in it, and Vinny's a great trainer. I trained with him at West Coast for the last good few years. So I kind of felt like, well, that's something that I used to get like on a weekly basis. So, let's see what else is going on. And they had Flaco Loco putting on how to cut a promo. And the gift of the gab and putting yourself over, putting your opponent over, saying why he's good, but you're that much better, rather than just burying, someone and saying, oh, you're a loser, you're a nobody, because then when you beat a loser and a nobody, really, who did you beat? Did you really get any credibility from beating someone who you just were putting down, or do you get more credibility by saying, hey, you're this great, but I'm that much better? And so he touched on a lot of really good topics to get people to wrap their mind around how to cut a proper promo with the who, what, whens, and whys. And it was really cool. They gave you like a notebook, that had a little sticker on it. And so, I was writing down notes, anything that like Oliver John said that was profound, anything that I had going on with the tag match that, invoked some thoughts that, maybe I could, use moving forward, especially with the training that I give to my referees. I wanted to to write it down so I could remember all this information that was coming at me. Then we took lunch, came back. Ryan got in the ring and basically was asking like, hey, so not only did all the referees gravitate, and obviously that was a lot of why we were solely there, but wrestlers, were like intrigued about his take on, what are some things that you wish wrestlers would or wouldn't do that, when you're in the ring with them. And so he had a lot of good information. It was funny because a lot of the things that he was saying were things that, I had been training with my referees with. So he would say something that I knew that I had like, try to reiterate to my students to really get to stick in their head. And I'd look over and I'd be like, see, this is the same thing that I've been telling you. So it just kind of reaffirmed a lot of the training that I was giving them, also hearing it from them, which I feel is good. Did some practice matches and stuff, got some critiques of like, what things that, each ref could do better. And then then they had a promo off that really kind of went off script because they were putting each other over and got a little sexual innuendo. And I was thinking of Zack. I was like, oh man, he would love listening to this promo because it literally went like in a different direction than I think Ugly was even expecting. But in all good fun, of course. And then we did some practice Ugly pulled some people out of the wrestling pool, if you will, and said, hey, I'm gonna have you wrestle this guy, and the refs kind of just cycled through, and then after the matches, the refs would go to Ryan and I say, hey, what did you see that maybe I could work better on? And Ugly, touched on a few things that he would see in the match that the guys could work on, and then after that, it was break the rings down, and everybody went home. I was a great time. I look forward to the next time he does it. He's definitely going to have to get a bigger building if he's going to put more rings in there. Three was a lot to have in one place at one time as it is. But yeah, it was just great to see so many young, hungry, talent, like thirsty for knowledge. And, he had a lot of great trainers and mentors there to supply that time that we had. So I'm sure a lot of those notebooks were filled up. Hopefully they retain that information and bring it to the shows as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Did they break down the ring? Did the Big Ugly and Vinny Massaro break down the 3 rings? Is my next, because I saw Cody Rhodes breaking down some fucking rings and sweeping out some canvases. Hey guys, I'm sorry. I gotta jump the fuck. Where'd he go?
Oh, he must have just pushed the
Sparky!
go away button. But where are you, bud?
Sparky, where are you?
What?
I mean, I started this show with some fire, man, with some sizzle. I came in hot and I got fucking cut off. I got cooled down from a 7-foot back elbow sprinting off. There he is. I was just talking, Spark. I came into this program hot, man. I appreciate all the information. That was It sounds like I'm gonna be there next year. But I came into this program hot, and I'm running off the ropes. I'm fired up. I'm knocking people on the fucking ground, and this 7-foot this big nasty 7-foot giant just fucking cut my momentum off at the helm, Paul. You just stop. You're like, I know what Zack wants to talk about, but ladies and gentlemen, recap. Let's go.
I just wanted to get some.
It's always good to start off on a positive note, though, right?
All right, I wanted to get some feedback on that. And the next question I had is, did you watch any matches this last weekend? And did you see anything that you saw at the seminar that went right? Because I watched the tag match that was. I was like, I hope all of this stuff was not something that they learned at the seminar, because it was awful. So. Yeah. So,
well,
what
I mean,
about you, Sparky?
the show that I was at was last Friday at Limelight, and I had a great time. It was like my first time, doing a show in Marysville, and it was kind of like one of those things where I do the same show a lot of the same places, and you get those Sparky chants because they know who you are. And I got to go out to Marysville. Nobody had an idea of who I was as a referee, which was kind of like one of those cool things where it's like, all right, here's a new town that I get to go reprove myself on why I'm a ref to be remembered, as far as like, keeping that believability in the ring. I made sure, like, I did a tag match with Buck and Bay. I think it was Princeton Price, and was it Chase Jackson, I believe, Zach?
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, hey, here's a chance to work with some tag teams. And at the first start, I was really on the heels on stuff because I wanted to implement some of those things that I had learned at the seminar. And then I got to do a really fun 6-man with good old Zack Reeb and the rest of the crew. And they had a lot of integral things that they wanted to have happen. And it was like they first came up to me and were asking me like, hey, what do you think the Taekwondo guy is going to come out and he's going to have an altercation with Bad News? And I was like, oh, okay, well, we could work it out with, doing it this way. And then it was like, oh, well, Sin's also getting kicked in the face and he's going to be walking off. Okay, well, that's another part of the piece of the puzzle for this match. And how does that play in? Then on top of that, I was like, okay, well, we'll do this. And, Ethan Reno gets the hot tag. Oh, no. Dickie's coming out for the hot tag. I'm like, well, he's not even in the match, So it was like, how do we place all these moving parts so that we could tell that story? So I was like, everything needs to have its moment to be registered by the fans. So, we collectively talked and figured out how to plan out all these spots so that everything had its moment and meaning, and then getting on to the next part of that story within the match. So Sin and Zack had their tension going on with the miscues that they've been having with each other over the past few months, having Ethan getting taken down and thrown into the corner post, and Bad News about to do more, but then the the Taekwondo guy comes out and he basically saves Ethan from an oversized bully, and gives him the big brick forearm chop down. And then leading into, Dickie coming out for the hot tag because of Sin walking away, playing off of propane, doing the same thing for Zack. And, and just playing all that out. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about working at PCW is the continuous storylines of, Zack doing one thing and then Sin kind of playing off of doing the same to him in the future match, and how it all connects, and the dynamics with, getting over the two upcoming talents and Dickie Dakin and Ethan Reno, and just seeing, the psychology that goes into the storytelling, so that these moments, because like no one's going to remember all the wrestling moves and all the heat that Zack was taking in that match, but it was those particular moments of Sin walking away, Ethan, and the karate, the Taekwondo guy. Sorry, I keep saying karate, but coming out and being the local celebrity and helping put that over, And then, also, the long storyline with, Zack being Dickie's coach and, being there for the coach in his time of need because all those other partners were nowhere to be found. So like, I felt it was like a great thing. From the footage that I saw on Limelight on YouTube from the last show that Zack did there was definitely almost probably like twice the attendance that he had the first time around. So it's good to see that, Marysville's, embracing the new entertainment that's coming to town that Zack's doing over there with Limelight. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds with our future shows with PCW and the storyline arc, and also the returning attendance that continues to happen with building a new house in Marysville. So
Absolutely. But you touched on the moments, and so Zack, tell us a little bit about some of the moments that we saw that I feel like we recorded early Sunday morning. We saw some clips of some moments from Knokx Pro Wrestling, and
You want me now? Now you're leading me in.
I'm trying to set it up on a tee for you, buddy.
I know. We did, Paul. And what was funny about it, Spark, is it was like this weird thing where Paul had sent me a video of it, and I had sent Paul a video of it, and it was a late night because we got done with the show, and he sends this video, and I send it back because it's the first fucking thing we see when we wake up at 5 a.m. So I honestly believe, which so young in our virgin podcasting careers over here, I believe we were the first actual, because I would call myself a podcaster now. Excuse me. I think we were the first podcasters to actually touch on the topic. And we didn't see anything, right? We just saw and I don't condone it. We talked about this. I don't condone what happened. What I mean by that is I do not condone Raja Jackson coming in and slamming him with this. I don't condone 23, I counted them, 23 unanswered punches to an unconscious guy. I don't condone that. But I want to. Sparky, you called me with such fucking passion. And I know, Paul, you've been following this. I've been following it for 3 goddamn days. This is bigger than fucking Hulk Hogan dying. This is bigger. AEW Forbidden Door was on, and nobody gave a shit about that, which, whatever. And Spark, you called me, and you were so fucking passionate about this. So I've seen so many wrestlers break this down, and it's just been shit. I've seen so many I've never seen so much in my life. I've seen people dogging on Mark Henry for what he said, Rob Van Dam, all these people. So I want to start this right here, and I want to circle around, and I want to move through the chain of events, and we don't need to even watch the chain of events. So here's the first thing that happened. We saw a little podcasting, a little live streaming video that he's showing up here, and he's going to hang out with he got a concussion. He's going to hang out with his buddy, who I believe, AJ Mana. So let's not say believe. We know. We watched this shit 1,000 fucking times. So around the horn here, the first thing I saw Raja Jackson in the locker room, and I saw him outside in the locker room. Obviously, there were cars out there, and he's smiling, shaking hands, having a good time. Nice white T-shirt. Hair's done up, got his bag, looking sharp. He shows up at the show. He's smiling. He's having a good time. There's Reno, a.k.a. Pearl. And here comes Syko Stu. And I'm sorry that this happened to you, Syko Stu. But Syko Stu walks up and says, "You know who I am? I'm Syko Stu." He's like, "I don't know who you are, Syko Stu." And he even turns to Reno to ask him a question about another wrestler. And Stu says, "Well, I'm about to show you who I am." And he picks up not a fucking prop, not a glass bottle, not a fucking prop, fucking movie propped sugar aluminum can. He picks up a fucking Pabst Blue Ribbon can. I know, because I'm a fucking alcoholic in recovery. And he picks it up and hits Raja Jackson in the side of the fucking head with it. And Raja Jackson's like, what the fuck, man? Like, what the fuck? Oh, you ain't going to sell it? Well, first off, I'm painting that picture. And if you haven't seen it, then you're not up on social media. I'm going to say this, and I want to go around the horn. I've been in this business 26 years. I don't care if I know you, if I don't know you, if it fucking hurt or it didn't fucking hurt. And I'm, once again, for the sensitive people out there, I'm not condoning 23 unanswered blows to the face like that. What I'm saying is 26 years of my career, I have never, and nobody has ever walked up to me, nor will they ever, and hit me in the head with a fucking can, whether it hurts or not, because that's just disrespectful. So that's the first thing that I seen. Clearly, someone in the business that's been working a while, 26 years, when a guy doesn't sell a can like that, he was confused. He doesn't know who this guy is. That he might be live streaming, but he's not setting this up. So once again, I don't condone it. But Sparky, you were so passionate about it, and then I want to hear from Paul, because we're going to break this damn thing down the right way. What do you think about the first thing that you saw when this guy shows up in the locker room?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I mean, you don't know him, he doesn't know you, and that's your first impression you want to give to somebody who's a guest of another wrestler who's there to basically, streaming his experience in your locker room. I really don't think that having cameras in the locker room is the best idea in the first place. Stu's been around for 15 years. And for him to, it just kind of goes back to the point like of, alcohol probably is not the best idea to be drinking in a locker room, because obviously he had lack of judgment probably from that empty Pabst beer can that you were talking about. That can probably wouldn't even have been there if they weren't drinking. And for him to just go up and say, "Do you know who I am?" and he says no, and then you hit him and say, "Oh, why didn't you sell it?" and they're like, "He's not a worker." Obviously, Stu didn't know him either. So why would you? How in your logical mind would you go to somebody who's a guest in the locker room and think that any of that would be okay? It's just like, where's the etiquette? It's like you didn't just start yesterday. You're not some young dumb kid, Stu. You're an adult who's been in the wrestling business for a while. Like, how could you even think that that was okay? Oh, the camera was on. It was just a work. Like, he didn't come there to even be a part of the show. He was coming there to see his friend, meet some of the wrestlers in the back, and then go out there and watch the show. And I feel like, in a way, like, Reno jumped up and was trying to do some damage control to make it seem like, hey, how about we just have you, how about we make this go full circle, and we'll have you go in the ring, and I'll have you fuck him up, And in his mind, he's not trained as a wrestler's mentality of, I'm going to go out there and protect my opponent. He's trained to actually go out there and literally like light someone up. So the disconnect of the type of training, um, and the terminology of the interpretation of like, I want you to go out there and fuck them up, can mean one thing to one person and mean something completely different to another. And and here's the thing too, is like, the guy had a concussion a few days prior. So if he's talking about how he was throwing up and that he wasn't feeling good. So like, if someone offered you the opportunity and you had a concussion, I mean, it might be logical to say, hey man, that sounds like an awesome idea, but I had a medical issue with a sparring guy that I had earlier. And I think also too, like, Raja came with his trainer, right? From, his dojo. And so, why wouldn't there, if Raj was like, yeah, I'm into it, maybe the coach should be like, hey, you just had a concussion a couple days ago. I don't think this is a good idea just on your own medical clearance. But, I mean, I'm assuming he felt embarrassed, and he was kind of like, well, hey, here's an opportunity. Now I'm a part of the show. Now the spotlight can be on me, and I can, get my receipt back on him. And maybe that wasn't his full intention, like originally to start out. He's just thinking like, hey, I can be a part of the show. And who's to say like he didn't go out there, double leg take them, gave him a couple fake punches. No one would even be talking about this. But
Well, real quick, Spark, kicking over to Paul. So that's the first part of this, right? I feel this is a three-parter that we're talking about. I want to hear what Paul has to say about it because you said it, Sparky. The reason we started with this is because we have somebody new in the locker room, Paul, and we what do we call it, Sparky? It's called locker room
etiquette.
So this is where this all starts, right? There's levels to this. So Paul, locker room etiquette. And Sparky said it. He broke that down perfectly right there. What are your thoughts on what you saw just on that topic? Because we're talking about that was the first thing, locker room etiquette.
Absolutely. And I think it's, you don't welcome a guy into your locker room regardless if this guy is a worker or not, with that type of action, right? It shouldn't be like you're coming up and the impression that I got was like, you should know who I am. It's like, well, this guy doesn't know anything about your promotion. Maybe he doesn't know anything about pro wrestling. You hear some of the things that his dad was saying. He's like that he's not into pro wrestling. He doesn't know anything about this. He's not smartened up at all. So, this guy comes into this locker room not knowing what's going on, and to kind of walk into that situation where somebody is like, I don't know, like just puffing their chest out and like, you should know who I am, type of thing like that. And then like, just, you would think kind of is blindsided by this guy is hitting me with a can, half full can of beer. And you're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I've heard a lot of people saying like, if that would have happened to me, there would have been a fist fight right then and there. But obviously you had Pearl in there kind of, grabbing onto people. And we didn't really talk about how Stu grabbed a hold of this guy, like, trying to, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of who I was listening to that was saying like, that's how I was disciplined. Oh, it was Maven. Maven was talking about, that's how I was disciplined. Like, my dad would grab a hold of me like that. So he was in control of me. It's like, so you're trying to put this guy, in that position where, you're in control and he's not, the wrestler or the MMA guy's mentality is like, you're not going to grab a hold of me. I'm going to, he's breaking his hands off his neck and things like that. So you can just think like you walk into this situation thinking you're just going to meet some of these guys and then you get this bad interaction with this guy. You should know who I am type of thing. It's like, well, I don't know who you are. And then now you're going to, take offense to that. You're going to hit me with a can of a beer can, and it just catches you off guard. And so it's not the locker room etiquette that we would be used to, how you would shake a guy's hand or introduce yourself, right? Hey, what's going on, man? Stu, whatever. I don't know, like you would ask questions, I think. Try to get to know the person. What are you doing here? What type of experience are you looking for? Type of thing, those type of things.
Well, now here we go. So we know the etiquette. We don't need to get too much into detail because there's things we're talking about. Now, Spark, owner, promoter, referee, worker. Same for you, Paul. Same for you. I'm pretty sure if we put you in a fucking referee's jersey, you do a damn good job too. You just be taller than everybody. So here we go. You're a promoter, Spark. You're a promoter, Paul. You see this guy who's not a wrestler, or whether you're even both guys are workers. Let's just say they're both workers and they're fucking disrespecting each other and they don't know each other. Do you put them together in the fucking ring, Spark? Do you take two guys that don't know each other and they're not even scheduled to work together, and this happens whether they're not a worker or a worker? Would you throw those guys out there on your show to work together?
Well, absolutely not. I mean, one, it wasn't like a plan. It wasn't like a planned thing that you had for your show. And if you knew there was an altercation, like, you want to have people who are excited to work with each other, especially when it's like a outsider thing. I mean, I've had outsider participation within, Gold Rush, where I had Martha Salzar, who was like a professional boxer, and she had an angle where Will Rude came out and disrespected her, and so they had like a intergender boxing match, but everybody was on the same page, like I don't really feel like a lot of people even really filled Raja in on. He didn't know when the match was happening. He didn't know at what point he was supposed to come into the match. He was told that, you go in there, you do your thing, and someone's gonna pull you off. Well, from the footage, who was supposed to pull him off? Even if it did get legit, right? Like, or even if it was a work, like who was the person that was responsible for breaking that up if that was the case of the spot going in? His buddy was just giving him advice of just give him a receipt, tag him, like, but I mean, you would think that if a guy hadn't done anything and there was hours between the altercation and the moment that they were going to be doing this on the show, like, hey, let's go out to the ring. Let's figure some of this stuff out ahead of time. So when you see the big spear happening, this is when your moment happens. What is it that you're planning on doing so that we could kind of go over this? So Stu is ready for it. He knew what his moment was, and everybody would be on the same page. But I don't feel like, from what I've seen, that he got a lot of direction or even really knew. So it was kind of like open-ended on what is he going to do. They knew that he was going to have a spot. The ref knew he was going to come in there. The opponents knew that this was a moment that was going to happen, but what is it, right? You could see there was so much unknown in having an outsider be involved that if you are going to have those situations, let's really all be on the same page so that this goes off the way it should be, right? But yeah, that is the long and short. No, like if this isn't planned and I don't feel everybody's on the same page, it's not happening.
Paul.
Well, I mean, I don't think you could put it any better than that. You want to give the illusion that these guys, if you're putting two guys together, I think it's always fun to have the illusion that these guys dislike each other. But to have a situation where you see like what happened backstage kind of go like that, and then it's like, oh well, maybe we'll just try to make this into an angle, right? We'll make this into something to maybe gain views or clicks or whatever. Somehow get this situation, create a buzz for your company. Obviously they just went around about it the wrong way. You have to, if those situations arise, you need to, if you're going to put two guys together, you have to smarten the dude up that doesn't know what's going on. And like Sparky said, man, you should have went out to the ring and say, hey, this is what I'm anticipating happening. When you see this happen, that's when you're going to come in. And what do you anticipate doing, right? The guy gets a double leg and, this is how you put me down safely, right? Here's how you throw worked punches, right? And like Sparky said, like, I didn't even think about that. Like, who was supposed to pull this guy off? Even if this was
leadership.
Yeah. So, so it's just, you don't know so many factors in this whole deal. And I think it goes back to, you've heard so many people say it. Like, I know Mark Henry was a big proponent of, these guys are drinking alcohol in the back before this happens. And, it brings me back to when I first heard about like Hood Slam, and I was just like, man, pro wrestling is dangerous enough as it is. Now you're adding these other elements, drinking alcohol before you're going to go get in the ring with someone is like, it just feels, so disrespectful. And, you're putting other people's, lives, bodies, all this stuff in danger when you're doing that. Like I said, it's dangerous enough as it is. Then you start adding these other things into the equation. It's like, it is not going to equal a good scenario. And that's obviously that's what ended up happening. It turns into this terrible scenario where somebody gets hurt in a big time way. So it just seems irresponsible to me that thing would go down, and you have these guys that are so, like, they've been around for so long, like these guys should know better, but I don't know. I don't know what was the expected outcome of this whole thing. Like, what did these guys in their head, what did they think was going to happen when you're telling this guy, go fuck him up, and you know what a receipt is, right? And I just feel like he's just like agreeing with it, or maybe you tell him like, a receipt is getting even, and like Sparky said, it's like, you don't know what is my version of getting even versus someone else's version of getting even. It's like, we have that understanding in the pro wrestling business. It's like, I'm going to get even, but it's going to be safely, right? You hit me with a hard shot, I'm going to hit you with a hard shot, but I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to break your jaw or break your nose or whatever. I'm just trying to go, hey, wake up, be careful. This is your, this is what you get in return, right? Here's your punishment. So I don't know what they were anticipating that was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a crazy situation.
Leadership role, right? Lives are ruined, man. Lives are ruined. I don't condone anything. We talk about the leadership. Sparky just said it. You go to a show, I talk to the people weeks before in advance. I'm talking to you, Paul. I'm talking to you, Sparky. I'm talking to Rick. I'm talking to all the goddamn performers, because we just had a black belt on the show. I had been going over his studio. I knew him. I've been talking to him all week. And here's the thing about this all, right? Like, we're going to run out of time eventually going over this whole thing. Let's just fucking talk about the big elephant in the room. Rayshawn Prince went down there. I saw Alex Ace going down there. Journey Fatu's down there with his family. How many people, the big Samoan kid from the 209, he just left and moved down there to just be a part of this. And they're all down there, and they're believing in somebody in a promotion, because it says right there, WWEID. They're down there because that's one of the 5 fucking places that got an ID recognition on there. And here's the thing. It's gone. Take it down. It's no longer there. And because of negligence, because of no leadership. I could hear somebody say, well, if Rikishi would have been there, and I know Rikishi, if Rikishi would have been there, this never would have happened. I don't think so. I think this is just a straight up case of we're out here, and I've been that guy. I saw the AJ Mana interview. I sent it to you, Spark. He's over here like, I'm that motherfucker. I'll bust your ass out. You know how you're drinking alcohol before the show? You know how I know you're getting drunk for the show? Because I've been doing it with you. And I was one of those offenders, man. And I ain't going to sit here and I ain't going to sugarcoat shit and be like, oh, what led me to recover? I couldn't walk out to the fucking ring. I was in no position to run my show. I thought I was going to lose my wrestling company because of this shit. You can't involve alcohol. And this is coming from the biggest offender of this of all time. I made terrible mistakes, and I found the ability to recover from it and get another chance at this thing to do it right. And it just pisses me off so bad. And I'm sorry for the guy. I really am. I've said this when me and Sparky, you called me so passionate for 20 minutes. I couldn't even get you to stop going. And I don't know if you're tired now or you're just trying to be politically correct, but I want the goddamn Sparkey Ballard that's talking like I am right now, because this is bullshit, man. And I'm going to tell you what's fucking bullshit about it. What's bullshit is that we work so goddamn hard to build professional wrestling up. It comes down from the territory days, and then it goes through Paul DeMarco. It goes through Oliver John, Mike Modest, Roland Alexander, Rick Thompson, Robert it goes through all these people that, especially in this area, that we have had to scratch and claw and learn our way to do this. And people just don't give a fuck anymore, man. Zack's fucking stuck in the 80s. All Zack thinks about is fucking, he needs to get with the modern times. All he does is want to work on detail and basics and fundamentals. You goddamn right I do. Because guess what? At the end of the day, we're all hobby doing this shit, and we're trying to protect each other. Because, Paul, you got a wife and you got 5 daughters. Sparky, you got a wife and you got kids. And we got jobs and we got families and we got businesses we're trying to run. Protect. That's what it comes down to, right, Spark? Protect ourselves and our opponents, man.
Our opponent, and most importantly, the business, right? I mean, otherwise we wouldn't even have protecting each other. You know, like one thing that I wanted to touch on with the situation is like I was thinking in my mind, like as I was watching it play out, is like if I was the referee in that situation, you know, like how would I have reacted to it? Because I have been in matches where certain wrestlers have you know, given these receipts, you know, going a little bit overboard and, you know, trying to hold them back from doing stuff. But at least their opponent was conscious enough to protect themselves in that manner. Also, having other wrestlers come in to kind of intervene to kind of help cool down the situations of, you know, one of the matches that particularly comes to mind that happened with me, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, first off, if I'm the referee and I know that this guy's supposed to come in, the first thing, once the double leg takedown happens, I'm calling for the bell. The match is over right there, right? Obviously, those fists were coming down in a fury. I feel like after I would rung the bell and I'm watching like how these punches are playing out, I feel like probably after punch 4, it would have like registered to me after I called for the bell that, oh snap, these are not pulled punches. You know what I mean? Like before I would even have time to like internalize and react, because as a pro wrestling referee, you're so used to guys respecting, protecting each other. And then I would have had to barrel into the guy. If he started punching on me, at least I had enough wits to protect myself until hopefully that big guy could have came in and saved me. But at least it would have saved Stu from another fury of like 20 some odd punches that I really feel, you know, because he was giving it to him good to register it. Then he started kind of getting off kilter, and then he readjusted, and then he just started like really laying him in, you know. And I think those ones like really put a lot of that extra damage that you could have protected him on. You know, you seen the other guy, he's trying to pull him off kind of haphazardly, realizing, wow, this is he's really putting a lot of force into this. I don't know how involved I want to get. And then like I had a coworker who was like, oh yeah. And then did you see the thing where there was a 3 count and they counted? And I was like, wait, I said, no, that didn't happen. That could, how is that supposed to happen? I mean, this is like a real like emergency situation where this guy like literally like plummeted him and he's unconscious, blood's in the ring, and they're pulling this guy back. And then he sent me the footage, and it was like completely to my disbelief that some other wrestler would go and cover his unconscious body in the ring, and the referee's reaction at that point is, oh well, now it's time to do my job. I'm gonna count the finish. No, dude. When an outside interference came in and he dumped him, that match was over. And even if you didn't register that, like show wise, like the fact that you would still go along with the fakeness after you just realized how real this stuff was in front of you, that just blew my mind, you know? So, I mean, I don't know how long the guy has been reffing. I'm not putting like the saving moment, like this wouldn't have happened if he would have barreled into him. It's just, I don't know. It just flusters me to know like he could have been saved from a lot more punches than he took. if either the referee just would have just barreled into him or the other guy would have done the same thing before the other big guy had to come in after all those 20 punches were handled, you know? And I think just sometimes, like, as much as I go in there knowing how much of it is a work, I try to go in there with my best intentions and my mentality that whatever's happening in front of me is real. And one of my most concerns in my job is making sure that, one, the rules are followed, and two, that the wrestlers are safe. You know, whether it be a bad bump or on the inside, outside of the ring, or whatever happens. But um, you know, sometimes you just have to step up. But I guess some people, you know, it's either I'm gonna fight or I'm gonna run, you know. And some people just uh internally just don't have that. But like, you gotta know, like, you've seen UFC referees when they're seeing a knockout, they just barrel in and push that guy off and wave it off and get in between, you know, like um and that was like one thing that was really kind of like disturbed me on the whole situation, is like, wow, to just kind of like let all that stuff fly, and then to like know that it was an emergency type situation, and then go right back to work on the finish. Like, why the guy even thought that pinning Stu to finish the match was a good idea, just blows my mind, you know.
Well, he didn't. Paul over here would probably. Did you see that cover, Paul?
I did, man. I
Didn't hook the leg, did he?
I mean, I
hooked
guess
the
that's one
leg.
thing I'll give the referee. At least he was in position for the shoulders when the pinfall happened, but that was
Well,
about it, you know.
but that also goes into the, like, if you had planned this whole run in, why would you have not told the referee, like, hey, it's going to be a DQ or whatever at this
Right.
point? Like, it just, you know, it's a reminder that they didn't put a whole lot of effort into this whole situation, you know. And I was also, as you guys are talking, I'm just wondering, like, you know, I, f- I feel like so few and far between. And I don't know if I've ever seen a guy get knocked out like that either, as far as the bump that he took. Because I think about the Stoner brothers using that wheelbarrow, you know, double suplex on people, and just how violent that looks. But I've never seen anyone get knocked out from it. So I'm just like, you know, was it also a bad bump that this guy took that knocked him goofy? You know, you like, I feel like I've seen people get power bombed in a real stiff, you know, UFC cage and get knocked out, but I feel like I've never seen someone get power bombed or double legged or whatever and get knocked out in a wrestling ring. Like, is that a part of it? You know, did you take a bad bump? What was the alcohol a factor in that as well? Things like that. Like, those are questions that pop into my head as well. But I mean, you listen to all these different vantage points of what may have happened, and I think Zach, I think you sent me the Chael Sonnen one where it was like, it looked like it was a couple of, you know, semi worked punches to start with, and then anger took over, and you know, just the different views on these different things, and you know, and I think like the Mark Henry one kind of stands out in my head. It's like, you know, this guy needs to take some responsibility for what happened to him and things like that. So, you know, and I don't know what really to think about the whole situation, right? You feel bad for the guy getting hurt because, you know, that's kind of rule number one in pro wrestling is, you know, you don't want to hurt your opponent. You don't want someone to have to go to the hospital, and, you know, I think just all the basic stuff that goes on as far as the protection of each other. You know, you don't want these things to happen, and it sucks that it does. And, you know, and obviously I don't think you know, it's justified to punch a guy in the face, you know, especially when he's unconscious already, you know, 22 times or 23 times. It seems ridiculous. And I don't know. Like I told you when I first saw that video, to me it looked like it was a fan that came in the ring, and I was just like, why did all the wrestlers not fucking, you know, come into the ring
React
quickly and
accordingly.
react quickly and separate the situation very quickly? Like, how did it get to that level? You know, you had the referee that was, you figure like didn't get involved. Then there was another guy that got involved, and I'm going to tell you guys one thing that I noticed that you guys can go back and watch. I feel like there's a guy in there, and he's like hitting Jackson with like a blow up balloon or something like that, like in the melee. And I'm like, dude, what is that guy doing? Like, he's hitting him with some sort of like inflatable prop or something along those lines. And it's just like when I saw it, I was like, no, what is that? What is this guy doing? Like, you think you're gonna break this thing up by hitting him with a pillow, or I don't know what
like
he was
pillow.
hitting him with.
This is a no pillow fight, right?
Right, yeah. It's just like, what is this guy doing? So I don't know. It was just one of those things that I noticed, kind of like the cover, big cover and counting to three.
What were you saying, Paul? Sorry.
Oh, I was just like, what is going on in these situations? Like, what are these people thinking? You know, it's like, obviously this is a serious situation, and I just feel like this guy goes out and like I don't know what it was. It looked like the hobo knapsack type thing. Like, I don't know what exactly it was, but
his gimmick.
Right, it's his gimmick. Yeah, you better sell it, brother.
Yeah, you better sell that because this guy's selling for you down here, huh? No, unfortunate, right? Like, this is unfortunate. Here's the fucking problem, man. We sit here all the time and talk about the safety of this and how to do this stuff right, and nobody's fucking listening. And if they do listen, they're like, hey, man, can you watch my match? Check this out. Give me some pointers. So we give them real pointers on what's safely and how to do things properly. And, you know, fuck you, Zack. Fuck you, Paul. Fuck you, Sparky, since you're sitting over there now, too. But here's the truth. Bottom line, locker room etiquette. Have it. Was Syko Stu, was he an asshole? Of course he was. Bottom line, fucking straight up prick. Cocksucker when he did something like that, right? No doubt about it. He realized he was wrong. He apologized. First mistake, shitty locker room etiquette. Second mistake, motherfuckers are sitting around drinking, right? What's that lead to? It leads to the fucking promoter, who I like the promoter, getting up, and he's just, hey, I'm just trying to cool the situation down. But now here comes negligence in leadership with, hey, man, you want to go back out there and fuck this guy up? Clearly this guy's unstable. He's got some issues. He's got daddy issues. He's got anger issues. Fuck a concussion. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the least of my worries there, is that he had a concussion and he was puking a little bit the night before. Let's send this fucking idiot out there now. Now we can call Raja Jackson a fucking idiot, because now we've gone, hey, Stu, you made a mistake. You apologize. You were a dickhead. Okay? Dickhead moves over. Now you have the ability, and we've said it many times before, Sparky and Paul, just say no. Hey, man, this guy's going to come out there and get his lumps in back on. And even Raja said, oh, man, as long as I get my get backs on him, I'm cool with that then. My get backs, man, I've heard a lot of motherfuckers say that word in my life going through, you know, gang members in high school and shit. When a motherfucker says I'm getting my run backs and my get backs on you, that don't spell receipt. That don't spell we're doing and the one I hate, Spark, it's just going to be a work cute. So negligence, I mean, just stupidity on the part of, hey, let's put you guys out in the ring together. And my goodness, to close this thing out, so many unprofessional, so many terrible acts, terrible forms of leadership, no thoughts in the world. I saw the guy with the baseball uniform out there going, yeah, man, I bleed the red and the black. You know who came out of here? Jacob Fatu. And where you at, Rampage Jackson? And it's like, dude, you didn't do nothing. You were out there. You didn't do nothing. Now you're out there trying to promote your fucking Freezer 955, because that's what's up, my brother. Bottom line, man, should the guy go to jail? Fuck yeah, he should go to jail. Fuck yeah. Drop the soap on the rope, baby. Grab your ankles without bending your knees. It's gonna happen. But this guy hasn't been arrested yet. And here's the thing is it's professional wrestling, right? Even though it's documented and recorded, what's the real proof? Oh, the guy's in the fucking hospital, man. He's missing teeth. He's sucking through a straw. And all this could have just been avoided by one thing. Terribly wrong. Raja Jackson's in the fucking wrong. Shouldn't have been put in that situation, but it all started with one thing. Locker room etiquette.
That's right, man. And I don't know, man. And hopefully, it is going to be a lesson that that is learned from this. Hopefully, it doesn't take. I've heard people saying like, this is it's gonna devastate the wrestling business, and it's like, it's probably not going to devastate the wrestling business. This is a one-off thing, and I heard Mark Henry say it as well. It's like, this used to be a situation that you just go in the back, or you'd go in the parking lot or whatever, and you just like, hey, you disrespected me. We're going to handle this right now, and the guys fight, and boom, we're done with it. But that's not the way it works anymore. We don't have that for some reason.
If that would have happened right there, if the can would have hit and Raja Jackson would have beat him up back there, none of this happens. And Sparky, you said it best. This is why we don't have cameras in the fucking locker room.
Definitely. And it's like also too, it's just like, okay, this happened with Stu and this happened with Raja, right? But now you got WWE with the ID that's now being brought into it. They had nothing to do with it, but their name is going to be, brought up about it. Rikishi wasn't even there. It's his school. He's going to get brought up and looked at and ridiculed for something that he wasn't there to even be able to stop. Rampage Jackson being that he's the dad, you know what I mean? Now his name is being dragged into it. And all these people, have worked really hard to earn the reputation that they have, to have that credibility that it is. And here you got some kid who can't control his emotions, and Stu, who's nobody really know, who didn't have the proper backstage etiquette, and it ripple effect into the people who really didn't even have anything particular to do with that moment, but are now like directly affected by just the affiliation. And that's like one of the hardest things I think that as you're growing up to learn, is the guilt by association. You know what I mean? And like, even if you aren't the one who participated in this act, if you're associated with it, people look at you as like you're part of the guilty parties of the situation. And that's really unfortunate, because I feel like WWE does a great job with their programming. Rikishi was a great mentor and a good guy to me when I got to be a part of Knokx Pro in their very, very early days. I enjoyed watching Rampage Jackson do his thing, and to see them be affected by poor decisions of, I don't want to say nobodies, but like people who aren't as significant in the public's eye, to see them have to be like affected by that too, is just, that's why it's an unfortunate situation to see that kind of stuff happen.
If this is a work,
right, yeah,
these guys pulled off the ultimate ruse, and I know it's not, but once again, guys, I just thank you guys for coming on here. I know everybody's talking about it, but for us to come on here like this in a touchy subject, and it's one thing I like to say, man, is I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, right? I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. And I'm definitely very spiritually fit now, and I'm praying. I prayed for Stu as well. I had a lot of talks about it. I'm like, no, he really got fucked up, and he did not deserve that.
No,
but he did deserve to get punched in the mouth for the incident beforehand in the locker room. They chose to break away from that. The one guy that the AJ guy with the cowboy hat, he's on there screaming because because he's on TMZ for an attempted murder case, he's lost his job. He can't wrestle no more, and he's lost his job. So, I mean, for everybody, the WWE ID thing, Rikishi Fatu, to everybody involved in this situation, man, it's just, guys, locker room etiquette, it starts with communication, leadership, and let's never send anybody into the ring that doesn't know what they're doing without letting them know and work on what they're doing. You guys got anything closing out here?
I do not, man. I appreciate you guys for spending a late night talking about the subject. So hopefully it has an effect on some people.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I hope Stu has a speedy recovery. I hope everybody in the wrestling community has learned some very valuable lessons off of other people's mistakes. And hopefully we can all move forward in this wrestling business and leaving it better than we found it. And I'm so appreciative to live my dream and, you know, doing refereeing and pro wrestling. And it hurts me to see a black guy on the business because of some poor decision making, because not only is it those people that I was saying before, but it's also us, right? Because, you know, people were involved with wrestling. Everybody that was involved with wrestling was affected by this. And I just hope that we can all move forward and be better because of this unfortunate situation. And like I said, I hope that Stu has a speedy recovery and we can get back on track with the positivity that I know that pro wrestling brings to everybody's lives.
And I'm glad you said that. I almost thought you said black guy in the wrestling business, but you said black guy in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
So for hashtag Rampage Jackson, for hashtag Raja Jackson, for hashtag Syko Stu, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you a simple question. Are you gonna fucking subscribe or not? No, everybody, have a good night. Sparky, thanks for being on the show. We'll get you back on here.
Thanks for having me.
It's a touchy subject, but it's something I had to get off my chest because I'm physically fucking bothered by this type of shit, man. Let's get back to doing what we do and protecting each other and just fucking working at the craft that we fucking love. I've been trying to do it for years. All I want to do is see people be successful. And that's the bottom line because fucking Stone Cold said so, right?
All right, man. Well, just like we always say, man, we're just going over.